The hell's up, everybody? Man Cave Sports back at the Man Cave. Got the entire Timberwolves crew here tonight. Haven't seen Brett in a minute, so it's good to see him again for our regularly scheduled Timberwolves Weekly. Timberwolves in the last week have went 2-2 in 4 games, having lost at home to the Celtics in a game that came right down to the end when Anthony Edwards had a three to or attempted a three to tie the game, and then a tough loss at Detroit. Decided to come home and win. They won their last 2 games, beating the Clippers, and then last night they went to New Orleans and beat a somewhat hapless Pelicans team. However, they did have Zion back, which I don't think he's played since November. So it's interesting. It seems like Kawhi came back the other day. I think that was his second game. Tomorrow looks like they might have Paolo back for the Magic as well as Suggs. So it seems like everybody comes back into the lineup when we play them. But 2-2 week for the Timberwolves. Last couple of games they've looked pretty good. Good wins. Brett, we haven't seen you in a bit. What did you think about the last week for the Timberwolves?
Yeah, no, great to see you all, gentlemen. Great to be back on the show here. But as it's usual the case with me, I'm non-committal on my Timberwolves takes, as this team has tended to do this year more than other years. 2 weeks ago I'm on the ledge of the cliff, and now I'm back. So. I, I still see some issues, even with those 2 wins with New Orleans and with LA, and two very uh, separate issues with the Clipper game. Yeah, we tweaked the lineup, but still didn't open very strongly, right? So we had to kind of make some adjustments, get back in that game. Luckily, had some guys on a heater, and then same with New Orleans. I was pleased to see. I know that, as you mentioned, a hapless New Orleans squad. Zion is back though, and we are on the back end of a traveling back to back. So you have to kind of take those victories and acknowledge those things. So take your wins as they come. So I don't know. I mean, I would like to see this new starting lineup work out. I think that there's going to have to be some more tweaks that are going to have to go into it. We'll obviously talk about that a little more down the road. But I am just, again, I have no commitment to any kind of take with this team, because as I feel good watching these last 2 games wrap up and get a couple of wins, the next handful of games could take me the complete opposite direction. So I don't know, Ramon. You tell me what you're thinking, man, because I need some guidance with the squad.
Well, I mean, I kind of feel the same way. It's just really hard to get the hopes up. It's really hard to, well, it's easy to feel down about them, but then all of a sudden, when we start feeling down, they win two, three straight. And so that just kind of seems to be this team's MO at this point. They'll lose two, win two, lose three, win three. And so this lineup change, while I mean, it's off to a good start, I suppose. They're 2-0 thus far, but the point totals are not really that high. Against the Clippers, they scored 108. Against the Pelicans, they scored 104. And then, as you mentioned, in the Clippers game, they got off to a pretty slow start. Although I thought the energy, at least from several of the guys, was still there. And I think, one of the really good things to see though is that Mike Conley seems to be playing more like himself coming off the bench. I think he was quite effective. I mean, he'd been really, really ineffective, like where it felt like he was almost unplayable for much of the season. But, looking at the stat line last night, I think, had 8 points, 6 assists, 1 turnover, and he just looked like himself. And I think the same was the case in the Clipper game. And as usual, the guy's just a pro, and he's going to be ready for no matter what. He's not going to rock the boat by getting moved, whereas maybe some other guys would. It's good to see Ant finding that joy again, but we can get into that a little bit more later. But still concerned about Jaden McDaniels. He's just so up and down. Um, I mean, there are times where they're just not even guarding him, and he just can't seem to consistently hit shots. And until he resolves that, I feel like this team's going to really continue to go up and down. I mean, and they don't need him to be a great shooter. Just if he can be consistently average when he gets open shots, I think that would really, really help this team a ton. But I'm glad to see Finch finally bit the bullet, made a change. Steve.
Yeah, I think these last four games really kind of encapsulate who the Wolves are this year. I'm finally over Cat being traded. And I think I'm moved past the expectations of what should have been, looking at us, being 12, 13 games back from first, it's like, all right, we're going to be between 4 and 8, right? When we end the season, between fourth and eighth. So I think this really encapsulates kind of who we are right now. We can play stretches where we can beat anybody, and we can play stretches where we can't beat anybody in the same game, right? Because we really should have beaten the Celtics. That we had a good lead there and we blew it, right? I'm like, oh man, we're doing pretty good. And then, it's so, it's so bipolar sometimes with this team inside the same game. I don't know how they switch it that fast, and then you've got times where they'll come out and, like against the Pelicans, they get off to a 16-4 run, right? So you've got, kind of the tale of our entire season, I think, encapsulated right now is that we can beat anybody and we can lose to anybody. I think that's very obvious, is that when this team is dialed in, they can beat anyone. When everybody's playing with energy and upbeat and playing the type of defense we should be playing, we're in it with any team out in the league. But I think that, whereas we made some lineup changes, I think it's more not an indictment of Mike Conley as much as it is an indictment of Jaden. And I know we'll talk more about lineup changes here in a little bit, but the problem is that with those lineup changes, when you've got Dante out there, right? He's a legit scorer, right? He'll knock down threes. You can't just walk away from him. You have to have somebody near him, which opens things up for Ant. And I know we'll get more into it, but I would expect to see. I think if Finchie wants to keep where he's sitting comfy at now, not get on the hot seat, he's going to have to continue to make changes to figure out how to make this work, because Tim Connolly pulled the trigger to move Cat. He's not going to let this fail. And so the next biggest scapegoat won't be shipping out Randall, as much as I think some of us would like to see him go. I think the next thing is rumor mill will start about Chris Finch, not being able to coach the team, because they'll go back to the series against the Mavs and how he didn't make adjustments in the series against the Mavs to be able to, solve some things there. And then we're going to start talking about, hey, we got a legit 20, 30 point scorer. How come you can't make him work? So I don't know. I'm trying to be positive, but it's difficult. Be naughty.
Well, Mr. Steve, you were kind of positive there, and that's the blessing to me. I mean, I appreciate that. My synopsis of the last week, the lineup change actually did help. Dante's probably not the guy that I'd want to start at point guard, but they went after the good soldier. And I heard Mike talk on Barrero today, and he was just like, Finchie came up to me. The conversation was 25 seconds. He said, this is what we got to do. And you go after the good soldier. My big thing that I don't want to step on Mike's touchdown calls about the itinerary here, but my big thing is let's get Rudy involved. I see him open all the time, but when he gets the ball, he's not open. It seems like it's vindictive a little bit. Let's get that guy going. Let's post him up. Jules won't throw to him until like the third time. Ant does the same thing as well. Let's get some easy buckets. Let's get back to the Rudy 7 for 9 for 17 points and 14 rebounds. It seems like there's kind of a cat fight going on in there, and that's all I got to say about that. Mr. Mike.
Yeah, I know Rudy's had a couple of decent games recently as far as rebounding, playing defense, etc. I know offensively he has not been as effective this year as he was last year, probably even 2 years ago, his first year here. So there are opportunities. I see what you guys are seeing as far as players maybe not trusting him. I do know, he's got a little Roberto Duran in him with his hands of stone, but a little bit taller than Roberto. But anyways, hopefully they can get that figured out. And yeah, I'm with you guys. The last couple of weeks, it seems like every time we're talking, they're either coming off of a 2 or 3 game win streak or a 2 or 3 game losing streak. It's just been the ebb and flow this year has been crazy. Nothing like last year, but I think it was John Krasinski, Johnny Athletic, put out. I think it was today. Yeah, in fact, I know it was today. I think we're only a game and a half out of the fourth spot, but we're also a game and a half out of
Here's
the
in the
play-in.
nugget.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's still a lot of parity in the West. I mean, there's a lot of good teams. I mean, look at teams like San Antonio. They're a threat, even though they're kind of sitting around the same territory that we are. But I mean, Wemby's a god. But anyways, we'll see how that goes. They got the Magic tomorrow. They got the Grizzlies, Wizards, and then the Warriors here. In fact, the Warriors they have next Wednesday at 7 o'clock Central. Maybe we'll do this show at halftime of that game and kind of do a quick recap of the last week and touch on a couple of things in an abbreviated version of this show. But the thing I want to talk about next, and then you guys already touched on it a little bit, just the lineup changes. And I believe that started, was it the last 2 games or yeah, I think it was the last 2 wins where DiVincenzo came in starting for Mike Conley. And it seems to have been successful, at least last night. I know they came out like gangbusters. As you know, the Timberwolves have been coming out in the first quarter a little lethargic, et cetera. Can't seem to get a bucket. But Brett, what do you think about the lineup changes with inserting DiVincenzo in for Conley?
Yeah, I'm just glad to see Finchy do something, right? I mean, I am. Let me preface by saying I'm not anti-Finch, man. I love Finch. I'm very much pro Finchy. I've been a little worried about Finch's future, though. The stubbornness kind of looked like it may potentially have that writing on the wall as maybe like his eventual demise is just his stubbornness and just playing the same 8 guys, even though you're floating around 500 well into January and you just refuse to make a change. So that was kind of where I was at. Was like, man, if this guy does not do so, and to his credit, he started to win me over a little bit when he started working Josh Minot. He's given Rob Dillingham something of an opportunity to get himself onto the court in some real minutes. Rob's got a little bit of growing to do. But no, it was really encouraging to see him just actually make an adjustment with the tools that he has. I know I would love to see like an actual table setting point guard in that lineup. It's kind of cool to have Dante in there and have some offensive firepower, like you mentioned. But I really think that as was mentioned earlier, it's going to help Mike Conley a lot too, because I think Mike Conley can still facilitate. It's just putting that like 35-minute load on him as a starter at this age. So now we can save that energy for the moments in the third and fourth quarter when we're going to need it. When we start to come unraveled in the third quarter, we can put that stabilizing force, Mike Conley, in there, and his legs are a little bit fresher than maybe they were in some of those longer October showings. November, when he was playing, when we were playing 8 guys, 7 or 8 guys. So yeah, just having that stabilizing force with some fresher legs would be really nice. But yeah, just kind of just seeing Finchy do something here. And I know like the Randall situation, I'm not going to go off on a soapbox there. I just don't think it's going to work out long term. I think that we could find a better set of resources with that 30 million. Anyway, that's not going to happen tomorrow. So, Finch made the move that was available to him in tweaking this lineup. And hopefully that pays some dividends. And I hope to see maybe some other possibilities for him come February at the deadline. But, that's tomorrow's issue. And that's not Finch's deal. That's Conley. So a few bridges to cross there. But Ramon, tell me what you're thinking, man.
Well, similar to you, Brett, I am very much a Finchy apologist. I think best coach in Timberwolves history, at least top 2, right? And
there's not much subject matter there. So
top 2. Okay. But it was time to make the change. And so I was starting to question Finch for maybe the first time since he started as the head coach, because what took so long? It wasn't working. The energy was low. They looked unhappy it just felt like, all right, I get the loyalty, I get the patience. He knows way more about basketball than I do, but it just was like, what is happening here? And then another concern I had is that he came in as, I mean, his reputation is that of an offensive genius, right? Offensive minded coach. And the Wolves offense is just pretty average at best. And that's been the case for the past 2 years. So concerned. But that said, I am with Finch all day. He made the right move. I think there's still growing pains, but it's great to see Conley playing more like himself, as I mentioned earlier, getting to play against second units. And I think he closed both of these games. So, I mean, he's getting it done. And then Dante, he's known as for his 3-point shooting, but he's gotten a chance to really showcase his all-around game. I think he had 9 rebounds last night, or maybe it was the game before, and in the other game he had 7 assists. And he just brings a lot of energy, the fresh legs that you mentioned, Brett. So the changes needed to be made. Again, will it turn into long-term success? We shall see. This team, like we've talked about, is just so dang streaky. So we shall see. Steve.
Yeah, I'm not as big. I'm not as married to Finch as maybe some of us are. When for me, I saw too many games last year where Finch, and especially that Mavs series, and I said it before, where there need to be adjustments made and they weren't made. And I don't know if the players just weren't doing the adjustments he was telling them to be able to do better on defense or what. But this year, I think I think he got surprised, and I don't think he had the game plan going into this season, but he should have made some adjustments. I think Dillingham needs a lot more run, especially when you're a 500 team. He needs to be getting more minutes than mine. I know he's out hurt right now, but you put in somebody that can help provide space. The problem is that the spacing, and again, it's not just because of Rudy, right? It's the spacing issue that we have on the court, right? Because everybody is collapsing on Ant. You've got 3 guys at points on Ant, and it's like, okay, well, if there's 3 on him, that means we've got 2 or 3 people open of ourselves that we're not getting the ball to. So you've got spacing and ball movement issues with the Timberwolves right now. I think, like we talked about, and I've harped on it before on the show, Ant's inability to hit Rudy on the pick and roll is killing him. Ant can't complain. Honestly, Ant, he's been on a heater the last couple of games. I love the bracelet thing that he's doing with that kid Luca with the leukemia and stuff. I love that. I think Ant's a cool person. But he can't bitch about I'm getting doubled and triple teamed. Well, you're not establishing any inside presence, right? If you've got a guy who's rolling to the basket and you never pass to him, why would you ever defend him? Who cares? Let him roll. You're not going to give him the ball. I'm not worried about that. And then when you've got somebody, McDaniels is on the side, he's not hitting his shots, right? Then why would you do anything but cover Ant? That's the problem. So when you make these lineup changes, that's important. You need somebody with more energy, more slash, and that forces the movements. I think Dillingham coming back, I think he should get some run in the starting lineup. I'm going to be honest, his energy and stuff, I think he should get in there. But having Dante in, it's spreading the floor out and it's making them respect. It's at least widening the defenders out, right? They have to spread out a little bit wider because otherwise he can kick it to Dante and knock down that 3. So the lineup changes are good. I think it came too late. I think we missed some games that we probably shouldn't have. 1 or 2 wins here and there add up at the end of the season. We know that. So I'm happy to see that changes are being made, and I'm happy to see that we're moving forward with making some adjustments. But I think more need to be made, and I think there needs to be some hard discussions in the Timberwolves locker room about, hey, if you're not producing, you're not playing. Nadi, how's that for positive?
I don't know. You were talking about bowel movement there for a while, Mr. Steve.
Because that's how they're playing. Like they need a little
bowel
Miralax. Little Miralax to get that bowel moving and get it going around the rib.
All you guys bitching about my Finchy, I think his hands are tied here. And I think that the GM has a little bit more to say about it. The big thing is, I'm going to digress and say the same thing I said the last time I talked. I think he went to Mike, and it was a 25-second conversation. Hey, you're going to come off the bench. The big deal is the spacing, as ball movement Mr. Steve says. It's just it's Jules. I mean, Nas would spread the floor a little bit better, like Cat did last year. I mean, he was on the team last year. I still think there's a conflict there, but Conley was the good soldier, and he was the one to fall, because they can't do that with Jules, because that will be a big deal. Michael.
Yeah, I agree. I think Conley, the consummate professional, probably the only NBA player, at least with that kind of tenure, that has never gotten a technical foul, which is still unbelievable.
I thought he was going to get one the other day.
So did I, man. He was pissed, and I'm just like, do not tee him up. You know what I mean? I love that, the fact that shows you what a gentleman he is, both on and off the court. One thing we talked about, all the lineup changes. One thing I am starting to think about, because you've seen obviously that second unit. Seems like Finch is taking Jules out a little earlier, putting him back in with that second one. But somebody we've talked about all season long that was playing outstanding and has actually been playing kind of had a rough stretch of games here is Nikhil. Nikhil has not played all that well lately, and you may not look at you may question me, but I'm looking at his production over the last 4 or 5 games. And
his defense.
Well. And yeah, but I mean, last night he had 11, but I mean, he's been shooting from the field lately. I mean, he's been god awful in some of these games, shooting 20.
His defense.
Yeah, I get that, but I mean, if he's going to be hoisting up as many shots as he does on occasion, especially 3-pointers, he needs to hit a little better percentage.
That's fair.
Because I mean, how's that any different from what we're criticizing Jaden for? And granted, Jaden makes a hell of a lot more money than him and is a starter. But Nikhil was playing at a high standard, probably the most consistent player for the first couple months of the season. But
he seems like the most stressed out guy out there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm at the point where you start trying some of these other guys off the bench. I mean, we can no longer, and I know Ramon's probably heartbroken. Deshaun Nix, I seen got released, so I don't know who's going to lead the charge of pointing every time one of our guys, especially Ant, dunks on somebody. So somebody's going to have to take that mantle and run with it. But like I said, hopefully Nikhil gets out of his funk. He's been playing not as good as he was earlier in the season. So, but I like that Finch is finally making adjustments. Now we talked about, and we keep saying heater. I mean, I'd call it a heater. You can call it a bunch of different things. But Ant, I know last week he was pissing and moaning, as Steve would say, about being double and triple teamed and not being able to work out of it. I will say this, the last 3 games, he has been on fire. He has looked like he's having fun again, which he hadn't been for a good stretch of the season. And his production has just been ridiculous out there. And it's not only just the points. He's getting rebounds and assists, too. I mean, he's kicking ass all over the court and seeming to enjoy himself, because I thought up until the last few games, he's kind of regressed from his performance last year. And I get it. He's got a bunch of new teammates. Things are taking a little longer to gel, but he did not seem like he was having fun. His locker room interviews seemed to indicate that he was getting all these fines for cussing, everything else. And I've seen the old Ant, or the Ant of last year, in the last 3 games. I believe he had 53, a career high, 37 against the Clippers, and then 32 last night. And in those games, he's hit 9 3-pointers, 6 3-pointers, and 7 over those last 3. So Ant's on a heater. It's good to see. Even with those double and triple teams, which he still gets, for him to be able to put that kind of production out is outstanding. Brett, what do you think of Ant's play as of late, and particularly the last 3 games?
Yeah, fantastic. And as you mentioned, Nikhil's on a little bit of a slow streak. Jaden's had his struggles. All of these guys, the Nas Reeds of the world, these are all phenomenal players, world-class athletes. They're going to ebb and flow with their production, though. With Anthony Edwards, we're going to go as he goes. So I will live and die by Anthony Edwards. If he's bricking, I just keep shooting, kid. Like, you're Anthony Edwards. I will live and die by you. If we're going to die by you, I'm fine with that. But, when you watch him hoist up and rise up on that step back against LA, and just bury that. And you got Grady going, Edwards cash. It's magical. And that's just something that we as Timberwolves fans need to embrace while we have it right now, because my God, it's just, I think that at 23 years old, we've experienced a lot of magic from Anthony Edwards for that of the career of a 23-year-old, that body of work. So, I mean, I think that as we get into the 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, the prime, KG won his first MVP at 28. So, man, just keep shooting, kid. It's going to ebb and flow, but that's really all I got. We got to live and die by him. There's going to be nights where we might die by him, but the nights that we live by him are going to be magic. So that's really all I got, man. I just want to see him just keep grinding. So yeah, Ramon, you tell me, man.
Yeah, I'm with you. I get down oftentimes when I see my favorite team struggling. I get down when like last night, they made the game probably a little more interesting than it needed to be. I think there was about 38 seconds left. Edwards was dribbling up court. Two guys came at him. Instead of giving the ball up, he tried to go behind the back, got the ball ripped, led to another bucket, made the game more interesting than it needed to be. And I got all up in arms. I was all upset, but he's a kid still. And so I need to remember what you just said is that we need to soak it all in, enjoy the moments. This is part of the process. And the fact is that he still got up there, still got it done. I mean, I know he missed that alley-oop dunk that would have just been insane. Insane. And did you see how high Zion got up to try to knock it away? And I wanted him to put that one down so bad. But then he still went in there and he hit his free throws. He doesn't get affected. And as Mike said, the joy seems to be back. It hasn't been there as much this season. And I think we've been conditioned as Minnesota fans to expect the worst, that a guy has a bad interview. He wants out of here. And then and he had that interview a couple days ago where he was whining about getting double, triple teamed. And so there was a part of me that was like, oh no, is he had enough? But then again, I'm like, this dude's different. He's just so authentic. He's so genuine that he's going to share the good and the bad about how he's feeling. And so that's another reason why we got to appreciate him for what he is. He's just so real. So I am really happy to see him drop 53, 37, 32, but they're winning. And like you said, we got to ride with him. We got to enjoy it because he is really, truly something special. And to see him having fun, to see him talking crap to Zion all game long, and having fun with his buddy Nick on the sidelines. And even the crowd security was all confused about whether he was like fighting with somebody, but they were just having a good time. It's really fun to see. And he seems to like have a pretty good relationship with everybody on the team. So very lucky to have him. And, hopefully some of the other guys that are struggling with their shots, like Jaden will figure that out, get it going. Conley will keep it going, what he's done in the last couple of games, and then we can really get this ship righted and start winning games on a consistent basis. Steve.
Yeah, I think with Ant, his being a young guy, his emotions are going to play directly into everything he's doing on the court, right? It takes time to mature to the level that you can build that separation between your work life and everything else that's going on, and be able to handle your work stress, right? That's, something everybody struggles with. And I think that he's feeling that. And I think that, I do think that the trading Cat was a big deal for him. And I think that he's starting to figure out how to live in this new reality, that he's got. And I think that if we're going to live and die by him, then he's going to need to, like we talked about in the preview beginning of the season, right? Looking for Ant to take that next step. Now, taking that next step for him is, like we talked about in the preview, knowing when to attack, knowing when to distribute, knowing when to shoot. When he's on a heater like this and he's playing, his entire game is going, right? And that's the infectious energy that we need on this team, because for so long it was just, you'd see it in spurts, you see it in dribs and drabs, That's why I like Dillingham coming in and playing because he brought that infectious energy. Ant is the guy that can really do that for this team. And so it's good to see him come up and start having the performance that he's had. It's starting to spark the team, and I think the team will catch on to that as well. So I think as he matures and his game matures, we'll see more of this continue to happen. He'll become more consistent. But hey, like you said, we'll enjoy the ride. We'll enjoy it while it lasts. I'm with you, Ramon. I'm a little bit fatalistic as well because I'm like, they traded Cat. At what point does Ant say this is BS? And I want out because we're not. I mean, is this going to win us a champ? Is this going to help Ant win a championship with Julius Randle? No, that's not going to help us win a championship. Now, maybe it's a hockey assist, right? We get another guy in, we can do that. But for the time being, Ant's been playing amazing the last couple of games. It's been really fun to watch. His energy's in infecting the rest of the team. So I will take it and I will ride it as long as I can. Nani.
All right, you jackasses. You've been busting on Finchy all program long. Ant's heater right now. He's best buddies with Jules. Jules knows he's on thin ice. You don't think they talk? Who do you think's responsible for Ant's heater right now when he was melting down? I'm sick of being double and triple teamed. Oh, poor me. Yeah, I'm telling you, I'm going to give it to Finchy. He's finding different ways. He's not going to bench Jules because that's going to cause a problem. But you see how Jules is out like at 4.5 minutes and Nas is in there. There's lanes right now. I think you guys should appreciate Finchy a little bit more. Michael.
Wow. Chris Finch Appreciation Society here in the house.
Yeah, you're fucking right.
All right. Well, I appreciate it, gentlemen. I said my piece about Ann right at the start to start that piece of the agenda. And I did say next week we should do this at the halftime of the Golden State game. And I just realized I will be in Bemidji, but I will be at the Green Mill in Bemidji watching the Timberwolves game as I make my way to Lake of the Woods. So we will do that. I will have to bring a headset because I'm sure I'm going to have a little background distraction.
Oh, there's only one person that gets a headset in this room, dude.
Yeah,
that's Razor.
The Razor. Razor, can I have your blessing to put on a headset next week because I will be in a loud place?
You have my blessing.
All right. See, that's all I need. I don't need buttons.
You'll be in a loud place. I gotta send out that email. I'll be coaching the boys as 7:30 scrimmage.
Oh, you guys got okay.
Yeah, I gotta send that out. No, that's okay. Don't worry about it. It's all good. I can maybe I'll call in from my phone and we can show some live coverage.
Oh man, do we really want to?
Hey, we put in a new offense, right? Unlike Finch, am quick to make adjustments. I don't need 3 months. I saw one game and I said, nope, we're changing this up right now.
What are you running, Steve?
We're gonna run the variations of the horns offense. Trying to get the ball. We're trying to run some triangle. What's that?
I said, look what you did, Razor. He's talking about his offense.
Yeah.
Hey, you think the Minnesota Timberwolves have spacing issues? You should have seen the White Bear Lake Timberwolves last Monday.
That was rough. That was I put it on the board yesterday at practice. I'm like spacing. I'm like, you guys need to spread out. This is nuts. They were just, at some point they're just in awe of the point guard dribbling around. They're like, ooh. And I'm like, no. So it's all right. We're going to the horns offense and we'll spread people out.
Sounds like a plan. Well, I appreciate it, gentlemen. Thank you, everybody who is watching this. Please like, comment, subscribe. Gentlemen, if you want to stick around for a minute here after I stop the show, Brian, you can take your courtesy walk off the stage thing too. But if you guys want to hold on for a second. Thank you, guys.